doot, 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 doot. Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome back into another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we are BACK back, baby. After having a week off last week because we just kind of needed to regenerate and recharge our orange and blue chakras. If you don't know what chakras are, ask Google. But ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited to be with you here today. Libre is backstage, and he cannot wait to come out here and not only say hello to you guys, but get ready to talk about the topic of today's show, which is basically the AFC West champion Broncos. What do they have to do to win it back-to-back? And dare I say, go even further than that. Because let's be honest, if the Kansas City Chiefs can get a winning streak going, so can we. And not only can we do it, but we can do it freaking better. So make sure your food is warm and your beer is cold and that you're comfortable as hell, because you are not going to want to miss a single minute of today's show. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, when you're changing lanes in your car, that little switch on the left-hand side, yeah, you're supposed to flick that up and down to let the people behind you know that you're going to switch lanes, all right? Because if I'm behind you, I am not a mind reader. I do not know when you're going to switch lanes telepathically, okay? So in order to avoid an accident, please use your blinkers. It's not optional, and just don't be a douchebag. And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which direction of travel you are watching, is my co-host, the one, the only, the incredible, my best friend as well as yours, the Bronco Libre.
What's happening, Broncos country? We are officially back after a week hiatus. Let's go.
Well, to be honest, Libre, I was off for a whole week. You were making the rounds around Orange and Blue Network on a couple of shows. I saw you, my friend. I saw you, you sly
you know
devil.
What?
You.
I want to give a shout out to my boy, Tim Dog, for allowing me to be part of a guest on his show, which will be airing tomorrow night with the Mile High Outcast. So thank you, Tim. I had a great time on the show. George also popped in there later in the show as well. So I can't appreciate you guys enough. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your show and to be on there. So muchísimas gracias. Ya tú sabes.
You know, it must be nice getting invited to things, Libre. Kind of reminds me when I was growing up and nobody ever asked me to be a chambelán.
That's what happens when you're 6'10". I'm just saying.
I didn't get this tall until I became an adult, but I was a tall nerd for a good part of my life before the growth spurt hit. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It is so much fun, and we are so glad to be back with you today. Again, we were off last week. I did put out a message letting people know that we were not going to be on the air. So hopefully you missed us like we missed you. If this is your first time in, welcome in. If not, welcome back. Before we get started, we got a couple of things we got to get out of the way, just like we always do at the start of every single episode. Otherwise, Johnny Baki will fire us, and then we're going to have to go to like the Temu version of this network. So, first of all, we'd like to ask you if you could start by showing your support for us here by subscribing, sharing, leaving a comment and a like on this video or any of the other videos that you may have seen in the past. Libre and I are always more than happy to answer any of your comments or questions that you may have. For anybody watching us on TikTok chat, same thing. Watching us through the live stream, if there's something you heard us say, agree or don't agree with, disagree, and you want to talk about it, please feel free to let us know in the chat what is on your mind. Also, by commenting and liking and sharing this very video, you help us grow the algorithm and spread the word to Broncos country that Libre and I are here, and we are here to stay. Again, your support is very, very greatly appreciated. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Audio listeners, regardless of what platform you're listening us to, please, 5-star reviews are also very much appreciated. If you'd like, you can screenshot that review, send it to our socials you see there at the bottom of the screen, and Libre and I will be more than happy to read them out loud and give you our thanks just as well. My my Twitter handle is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. Sponsor of today's show is Dubby. If you don't know what Dubby is, ladies and gentlemen, it's basically got no sugar, no calories, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. It's formulated with nothing but amino acids, B vitamins, and nootropics, which is part of the patented neurofactor nootropic, and the caffeine, which is derived directly from the coffee fruit. Basically, as we like to say around here, it's all the good stuff without all of the bad, which is just amazing because everybody definitely could use a little extra kick and motivation without having to feel the after effects, like the crash that you get with certain energy drinks. And with that being said, if you use the code OBN10, you'll get 10% off your order at checkout. At checkout. Again, that code is OBN10 to get your 10% off your order. Libre, how did you phrase it 2 weeks ago? Bo Nix 10.
Yeah. What was it? Yeah. Bo Nix 10, because that's his jersey number.
Yeah, that's his jersey number. So that's a great way to remember in case you guys ever forget the code. It's Bo Nix, which is OBN10, to get your 10% off your order at checkout. Shout out to W for being a continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have the show schedule going forward for the remainder of the year. Notice that changes are subject to be made without how did Johnny say it? Without previous basically, if changes are made, changes will be made before we let you know, is what I guess we're trying to say. So please keep in mind that the show times I'm going to mention to you now are all in Mountain, so please check your local listings for times in your area. Orange and Blue Blitz, which airs every single Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. The Broncos Bros, because even Broncos Bro, at 7 p.m. Tuesdays at 7:30, we have the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast flagship show every Tuesday. On Wednesdays, just before we go live, we have the Mahai Symposium, bringing you all of not just Broncos news, but Rockies, Avalanche, and Nuggets when they're in season. Wednesdays at 2:30, of course, the show you're watching now at 6. Mahai Outcast come to you live every Thursday at 7 p.m. And then on Fridays during the regular season, every single Friday, we have the Viva Los Broncos in Spanish. It's the only Spanish podcast you'll find anywhere in your area. The coolest one, too. So we will be airing Viva Los Broncos next Friday. And then in July, we'll air one more during the month of July. And then we will be back to our regularly scheduled program when the preseason starts every Friday for the remainder of the preseason and the regular season, and until we get to the postseason. So please keep that in mind. If you have anybody you know that speaks Spanish and only Spanish, please help us spread the word. Tell them to come check us out. With their support and your support, if you want to have a translator nearby, is greatly appreciated. For the Fresh Squeeze is all the breaking news of Up to Broncos news that comes out of the Valley. So make sure you hit that live notification button turned on so you don't miss a single moment of the action. And then during the regular season, we have the Get Buck pregame show where the guys come together, bring you all the news up to date going into that day's game. If you don't have access to watch the game, the guys got you covered with the Bucking Booth play-by-play. And then towards the end of the game, regardless of the result, we have the post-game show, which is the Get Buck Your Feelings post-game show, where Johnny and the guys come back together, talk about what it is that happened during that game, and looking forward to the following week's matchup. I am tired, Bronco Libre.
Oh my God. Like, it's about time you're done talking because I was tired. Oh, wait, never mind. I didn't even pay attention. I was talking to my boy, Andrew, here on TikTok, who's a huge 49ers fan. So while we were talking here on TikTok, we play the 49ers week 4 of the season. So I just invited him to be a guest that Wednesday right before the game of week 4. So we're going to bring him on so that we bring on a fan segment, part of it as well on our show for that week, for week 4 of the season. So that would be right there at the beginning of October, end of September. So we'll bring him in. We'll talk about it, see what we're doing up until that point. If the Broncos are 3-0, 2-1, however the case may be, but or with the 49ers, and then how they wanted to not play the Broncos in Mexico City. So we'll talk all about that stuff as well during that time frame. But we got somebody scheduled already for that 49er game. So if anybody's out there that wants to be part of a guest, if you're a fan base of another team, and if we're playing you guys this year, please reach out to us. If you want to join on, we'll be gladly to have you on so that we can talk football, have a good little banter, the ups, downs, like wherever it might be. If we're not a favorite, or if your team is the favorite, or we are, again, that's just what Vegas is putting out there. Let's talk about football. That's what we want to do. Let's get a good banter out there. So, Andrew, I got you scheduled. You're in there. So let's do this. I love it.
I love it too, Libre. And it is going to be a freaking phenomenal game, regardless. I mean, I can't wait. I'm excited to see it because it's going to be in my hometown. So, unfortunately, it's going to be in the Estadio Azteca, which is like, ugh. If you know about Mexican soccer, you know why. I'm a Chivas fan, so Viva Guadalajara all the way.
Right, but again, it's in Mexico City. But like you said, it is in Mexico City, Estadio Azteca. But the thing is, like, in order, and I think what happened is that the city of Mexico City had to do some upgrades to the stadium before Roger Goodell was saying, "All right, let's get a game down there for the NFL," because you have to remember it's an actual regular season game. It's not preseason. It's not that. It is a legitimate game that accounts to these guys' record. So, so I know that there was stuff that they had to do things to that stadium prior to the NFL being able to say, "Yep, let's get down there and we'll go ahead and take care of that. We'll get a game down there." So I know Mexico City had to do that as well. But you know what? That game between the Vikings and the 49ers, like, it's still going to be a good game. I wish it was more of a divisional game for them, or some type of divisional game, so it had a lot more meaning. I just feel like the 49ers just got a layup, but it's okay because right now, like how we talked about this last week when I was talking to Tim Dog, or even on our show, I think we're talking about they expanded the number of international games where now teams will not be able to actually protect who they play against. Like, they can play against anybody now. And that's what the owners have approved and all that. Because as of right now, because of the limited number of actually international games, teams can say I think 2 or 3 teams where they can say, we do not want to play these teams on our schedule this upcoming year in that international game. That is erased starting next year when we have the more games internationally. So, which is going to be nice. Hopefully we can get more games that are down there in Mexico City. And the Broncos are part of it, because that's going to be a game that I will be definitely traveling to, and make that happen.
That's all great and dandy, Libre, but we have another topic at hand that we need to address. And the only reason I came up with this topic today, Libre, is because the one thing, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this before in a previous episode, the one recurring theme that keeps happening or keeps popping up, well, 2. The first one is just basically, you guys have heard me say it before, that a lot of people are picking the Broncos to win the division again, which I'm fine with. Love it. Don't have a problem with that. The only other thing that kind of sticks. How's that saying, "Grow Libre"? A straw in my craw or whatever. Is basically everybody giving the Chiefs a lot more credit than they definitely should. A lot of people still have the Chiefs not only in second place of the division, Libre, but in some cases, to even when Patrick Mahomes does come back, that he's going to come back and they're going to beat the Broncos, and that they're going to look like the quote unquote Chiefs of old. Of like they've been sticks in my craw. Thank you, Mud Toy. uh, and I wholeheartedly disagree. Thank you, Libre. I wholeheartedly disagree just for the simple fact that if you didn't if they were Chiefs fans, I can understand why they would say something like that, which would make that argument more understandable. But at the same time, they're not Kansas City Chiefs fans. You've heard me say it here before, ladies and gentlemen, that I fear the Chargers more than I do Kansas City. Okay, I do. I get it. They got Andy Reid. They're going to get Patrick Mahomes back. But can you really, with all honesty, taking off the orange and blue glasses, can you really say that Justin Fields, seeing what he just went through with the New York Jets, can you say that he can carry that team to so many wins until Patrick Mahomes is healthy enough to come back, which there's no certain timetable for. It could be 3 weeks, it could be a month, it could be until November after the middle of the season. Like, there is no specific return date for Patrick Mahomes. And even if Mahomes played week 1, he already lost to the Broncos last year twice. All right. The Chiefs are trying to plug all the holes that are coming up in their foundation, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. The defense has definitely taken a step back. Them losing McDuffie. McDuffie was already getting cooked by Courtland Sutton. Let's start off there. So he's already left. And they're trying to hold on to what little they have with the players that they do have. You know, Chris Jones is still a talented player. I will give him his flowers, Libre. But defensive tackles, when they start getting up there in age, you know, they start losing their muster. They start losing their speed. We kind of saw it last year in that Jacksonville game, if I'm being honest with you. Like the sheer, I don't know if you want to call it laziness or what have you, from Chris Jones not applying himself to that play. It's just like I don't see it, Libre. So what do you think?
Like we've always talked about, like KC is putting out a narrative. They put out a video already of Patrick Mahomes throwing in his big old knee brace and so forth. How was he the next day? How sore was he that day? Because I have to say, that was his first action that was out there. And again, we only saw a couple of passes that they provided to us. Was that the only couple of passes that he actually did? And they're like, all right, he looks good. They're going to win everything. You know, they're on top of the world. But the thing is, he is not ready to actually put movement on there. Again, he might be ahead of schedule and all that, because each player that's had the ACL repair done they heal at different rates. You know, everyone's not the same. We talk about Adrian Peterson, you know, how fast he came back. And you have to remember, this is a position that relies on cuts, relies on you making that quick stop movement and whatnot. So, and then now you look at Jamal Murray, like he had ACL. He was out for technically like 2 years. But again, I also think about it as well as like he's playing on a hardwood floor compared to the NFL players who are playing on grass or the synthetic grass or whatever the case may be, where it's a little bit giving. It's not always so much pressure on your knees as it is basketball. But then my thing is he going to be truly ready? You mentioned Justin Fields. KC still has a concern with Mahomes being ready for week 1. So that's why they went out there and got a quarterback that has started in the league itself, knowing like they could potentially use him as the week 1 to week 4 starter, whatever the case may be, until Mahomes is actually ready to go. I mentioned this before. Week 1 of the season, is actually 9 months to the day when he tore his ACL. So that's why KC went out there and got Justin Fields for this purpose itself, because he's going to be that guy that's going to be the starter for them. We have to look at him being the starter until it comes officially where they say Mahomes is a starter. Justin Fields is your starter right now. He might go out there and look good in practice, but that's only what you're showing us. Until it's actually ready to go, I'm saying Justin Fields is a starter until you prove me wrong. So I just looked up their schedule. And again, and this is even what is it? Colin Cowherd, whoever, like there's all these other guys that have already said the Broncos are being punished with how hard their first 6 games of the season is. It's because of how Sean Payton is with the league, a little bit pushback and just what he says. And everyone's thinking that they're being punished. You look at our schedule. Yes, it is one of the hardest schedules out there for the first 6 weeks of the year. But you know what? I do feel that this team is capable and is going to be able to come out there with at least a winning record. But coming back and looking with KC, they have us Monday night, first Monday night of the game. Week 2, they play Indy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's their quarterback right now? You know, is it still Anthony Richards? Like, who really is it? Like, I can't think off the. And it is Danny Dimes. Like, they did re-sign him. And then you have the third week, which is Miami. Miami's in a whole rebuilding phase right now. So that's going to be and they're in Miami for that game, and that's a win. And then now they're in Vegas. That's their second divisional game of the first 4 weeks. So what are their records going to be? Because then they have a week 5 as their bye week. So me personally, I do think that they're going to hold out and wait to bring Patrick Mahomes back until week 6, which will be against the Chargers. If they're even 2-2 at that point, if they're 1-3, they're going to wait. They're going to let Justin Fields be that quarterback to have that down part until they come back. But again, then they come back here to Denver on November 1st. Well, they play Seattle first, and then it's us. So, they have this right after coming out of their bye week, they have a tough schedule coming out. The first 3 games out of their bye week right away. So they're going to need Patrick Mahomes, I think, at that point. So they'll probably save him up until then. But for us, I do feel like we'll be ready to go. And you're going to see that, especially with starting yesterday, what's been happening here in Denver with OTAs.
Let's say hello to some people here in the chat. Libre, Tim Dog saying, "What's happening?" from the Mile High Outcast podcast.
What's happening, my bro?
And then we also have D-Rock saying, "Hey, Don and Libre.
What's happening,
salute to you, gentlemen.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Also, TikTok chat. I see some people coming in and out. Feel free to say hello. Don't be that weird person. Just because you accidentally clicked on the podcast, say hello, man, and go Broncos. But like, I think that people are just kind of, they're overreacting, Libre. That's how I see all this. It's an overreaction, and it's people thinking that, it's going to be the same old Chiefs. It's going to be the only thing that's staying the same is the Chargers getting hurt, injury, because the injury bug affects them like it affects the San Francisco 49ers. Okay. They go hand in hand in terms of like just going to be annoyingly, you can almost bet on it. I'm pretty sure there's going to be on a sports betting website how many players are going to be injured.
So about the injuries, what just triggered me with the sports betting, there is already something out there that winning the Super Bowl, they already have the Rams favored to win the Super Bowl this year, just because of the trade with Myles Garrett and Jared Verse going over to Cleveland. But the thing is, like, when I looked at it, they were like a minus 400. So they were like the true out favorite right now. The Broncos were plus 1,300. So that alone right there, they were down on the list, like almost middle of the tier of all the teams right now. So they're overlooking the Broncos again. and they don't think what we did last year is a total fluke. And the way I look at this, and this is perfectly said, and especially what Bo Nix has said last year, we're overdogs. And we're going to be out there and we're going to be able to show everyone that's out there we're not underdogs because we're out here still performing because you still that have us as an underdog, but we're performing and we're overdogs and we're going to be out there and doing that again. And this is what the Broncos are going to be doing this year is they're going to go out there and prove it again that they are a team to be reckoned with. And you know what? And it's okay. I like this attitude because that gives them that little chip right here on that shoulder that they still need because they haven't won anything yet. They don't deserve anything as of yet. Yes, we were there.
Mm-hmm.
We were a broken ankle away from being in the Super Bowl. But let me tell you, I would rather have that. This is the same type of scenario that we had back in 96 when we lost the Jaguars, because now they want it more. They're going to be hungry. And this is what's going to happen is they're going to have that chip on that shoulder and they're going to fight for each other. And that's what I want to see from this team. And actually, I think they're going to do it, especially with the movements that we have already done.
And I was going to say, Montoy saying it's a good time to bet a stack on the Broncos.
Yes, sir. I was just thinking about that too. So I'm actually going to go talk with my son too because he just turned 21 this last year, and I said let's go put some money on. I go, I put 100, you put 100 in. Let's go ahead and do that, and let's win this.
But going back to what I was saying just a few minutes ago, the Broncos need to step it up because as you guys heard Bronco Libre say, their schedule got harder. Okay. And we said it 2 weeks ago that, let's be honest, folks, a lot of those games that the Broncos won last year, they won by sheer luck. Okay. Sheer luck. And the thing about luck is that, especially in this league, no 2 seasons are ever the same. They're always going to be different factors going in. Injuries, current events in some cases. There's always something going on. There's always something that can change a team's future. With the Broncos, however, they basically did what a lot of us kind of didn't want them to do during the free agency period when we were just kind of sitting on their hands. They didn't sign anybody. They didn't trade anybody. They were just re-signing mostly all of the players that they were going to re-sign. They let Dre Greenlaw walk. We lost John Franklin Myers to the Titans. We lost PJ Locke to the Cowboys. So it was kind of dispiriting in a bit because it felt like the Broncos were really going to bet everything on the farm that they could redo what they did last year with what they had without having to add anything new. And then boom, out of nowhere, here comes Jalen Waddle. And all of a sudden, like, hope is restored in Broncos country. Then the NFL draft comes along, and I don't know anything about college football. You guys have heard me say it a million times, but from what other Broncos podcasters have said that know more about the subject, the Broncos got some really good players, and diamond in the rough players maybe at that, especially at the tight end position, which is where the Broncos really, really need help in. To give Evan Ingram some help because he was overly hyped last year. Let's be honest. And he couldn't deliver. But then again, it's really hard for him to deliver when he doesn't have anybody to help take the top off, take the edge off, make him more available if the defense is going to cover him, especially with 2 guys every set. So basically they need to run the gauntlet because there's going to be very little room for error. Last year we went toe to toe with the Chargers in terms of, they were keeping up, and it could have went either way in terms of, every week switching up who's going to take the lead, especially because before the second game, Libre, the Chargers had that win over us, and it could have easily went in their favor because they owned the tiebreaker. So going into this season, they cannot take anything for granted. Again, I still think that the Chargers are going to be their biggest thorn on the side, just for the simple fact that Harbaugh is not somebody you want to take lightly like I thought you could when he came and took over. And Justin Herbert, when he wants to play, he can play, and he's getting his offensive line a little healthier back. The Chargers defense, I will say, is kind of right there with the Chiefs defense in terms of they're getting older, and it didn't look like the Chargers made any big moves in terms of trying to reinforce and inject some youth into that defense. So they really have to put that out there, because as good as Justin Herbert can be, especially with McConkey and well, now they got David Njoku. And what's the name of that other young the other tight end? I can't remember his name. And they have Omarion Hampton. So they got some good players. I will give them their flowers. They do got some good players, and that's why I think the Chargers can be that thorn on the Broncos side. The Raiders, Libre, I'm not worried about the Raiders. We were discussing last week about 2 weeks ago, sorry, who we think who's going to start for the Raiders, because they paid Kirk Cousins a bunch of money, and I still think that maybe Fernando Mendoza is going to start, but it's more likely looking like it's going to be Cousins, because I don't think you pay Cousins that much money to just ride the bench. But either way, I wasn't really impressed with what Cousins did in Atlanta. So there was a reason why Atlanta traded him or let him go, or whatever the situation was, Libre. So the Raiders are going to be a team that we're definitely going to have to watch out for in the future. I just don't think it's going to be next year. Clint Kubiak is definitely going to have his hand full in trying to turn that team around.
Yes, and that's one of the hard things to do is once you have a new coach coming in, it's because you're one of the bad teams in the league because they're getting rid of their coaching staff. But I earlier today when we talked about the show, let me give a quick shout out to Gabriel. He goes, "Saludos to the only Broncos podcast in Spanglish. Ya tú sabes, vato loco. Ya tú sabes." So
yo.
But going to earlier when we got the show and talking about the AFC West, how we're going to do it again. My thing is I went on to ChatGPT and said, and just put in there, what does the Broncos need to do to repeat as AFC West champs? And it says for the Broncos to repeat as AFC West champs, the formula is pretty straightforward. Bo Nix, keyword, Bo Nix has to take a step forward. The defense must remain elite, and the Broncos have to win more of the head-to-head game against the Chiefs and the Chargers. So, and that's going to be the truth. Like, we do definitely have to go out there and make sure that we take care of those teams. If we can, I do feel like we're going to take both games versus KC, because I don't think they're there anymore. They're in the decline. Even my boy Andrew on TikTok, he was saying that KC's already on the decline and Mahomes is not the player that he used to be. The real test is going to be with the Chargers. Like, yes, it's going to be we might be 1-1. If we can split even the series with them during this upcoming year, I still think that's a win. But we have to take care of the non-conference games. That's where the tiebreakers and all that happens. That's what happened with the Patriots last year. They happened to lose the very first game of the season to the Raiders, and that one game hurt them from actually getting the number 1 spot overall, and taking it from us because of that. But it's gonna be like year in and year out. What is this Charger team really gonna do? Is like they start off strong, but they start to go away near the end of the season when teams have to be prepared for the playoffs itself, and they just start fading away. It's like they play they're just out there playing good for the part of the season just to get there into the playoffs, but then when playoffs show up, they don't show up, they show out. So that's one thing. That is this Charger team going to be the same way? I don't see them changing much, because that's what they've been known for a long time. And then just going back and reading this here as well. Bo Nix needs to make a year 2 to year 3 leap. What is it? Keep the defense among one of the NFL best. Players such as PS2, Bonito, Zach Allen, give the Broncos a league deepest defensive group. Many analysts believe that the Denver Broncos defense is the main reason they are considered a legitimate AFC West contender. So, yeah, and then just get productivity done from all the skill positions. So when we talk about the skill positions, we're talking about all three phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. So again, if we can take care of all three of those phases, we should have no problem repeating as the champs of the AFC West, and then going in there and getting the number one overall spot again. And that's something I think they can do.
I definitely can't see it. Now, the question is, Libre, can they go on a winning streak like the one that Kansas City did, where they won for 9 consecutive seasons? Can the Broncos go for 9 seasons as well or longer?
With the way that the team has been putting players in positions and not truly overpaying for anyone as of right now, yes, because they're building that factor going forward. You have to think about the future, especially with these high price tags on players or whatnot. Yes, the Broncos just gave PS2 a pay raise this yesterday. And that's only because and you know what's funny about this too is that the deal that he just signed doesn't take effect until next year. You know, his extension. So because of that, when he signed that, what was it, 2 years ago when he signed it, or last year or whatever? When he signed that, he was at that point, he was the highest paid corner. But then after that, he's dropped down to like the 5th or 6th highest paid corner in the league. Even though they just gave him this pay raise, he's still like the 3rd highest or the 4th highest paid corner. But the thing is, it's like when you have a player that is here for the team and you're for that, like those are the type of players that you always want to have on your team. So because of that, I do feel that this Broncos team is going to be a next decade type of juggernaut that's going to be taking over the AFC West during this time frame. We just started last year. That's year 1. This is now coming up on year 2, which I do feel that they're going to continue to do that. Is because 1, they're smart with their money. Because when we got released from that Russell Wilson deal, which he just officially retired from the NFL and going to the CBS booth, good for him. It's about time that you're going to probably make more money in the broadcast booth itself. But now that we don't have his money on our books, what I loved is that we did not go out there and spend crazy and saying, all right, we need to get these high priced players to get all this done. They got some great value out of what they did, throwing in that pun at the Walmart pun. So, but overall, let me just tell you, like, they're doing it the right way. And the focus is, let's build this team the right way. And I feel like that's what they're doing. And that's why the culture here is so well observed by other players, where they, like we've talked about this before, is that players see that. We have the new training facility that is going to be completed here very soon, which I'm super excited to go see next month when training camp happens. So I can't wait for that to happen itself. So from there, I'll be going live on TikTok. I'll probably go Facebook and do all that stuff as well. So follow me so that you can see all the new stuff if you're not here in town. And then there's our boy, George from the Broncos Bros. Do you even Broncos, bro? What's happening, bro?
Jorge Montoya, how are you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for being here with us. My high salute to you, brother. Appreciate your support here on a Wednesday evening talking about our beloved Broncos. So I definitely do think that the Broncos can go on a long winning streak. And the reason I say that, Libre, is just for the simple fact that you know what plays in my head like almost every single day on my way to work? And I'm pretty sure you've seen the video of all the analysts after Bo Nix was drafted, how they were just kind of saying that the Broncos overreached, that Bo Nix is not going to be the guy, kind of first round bust, like all the stuff that you'd imagine a hater would say.
Oh, yeah.
And that I'm pretty sure Bo Nix heard that the entire from when he got drafted all the way to training camp and preseason at that, because he played every single game. So like that kind of thing just it does something to you, and I cannot imagine how he wasn't trying to use that in motivation. Now, weeks 1 and weeks 2, and I tell this to people too, those were very tough weeks for Bo Nix because he went against a Seattle defense that was just starting to come into form, and Bo Nix did not. Yeah, he had a bad game, but it wasn't terrible, and he almost won that game. If it was just what's his name, if he'd have just slid down a little bit sooner, the Broncos get another chance at the ball and maybe get a win. And then the Steelers, another one of the most expensive defense in the league in terms of salary. Though they were two really tough matchups, and I remember that, Libre. We were talking about that, and then they were about to play the Bucks, and Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, that offense, they were putting up points on anybody up until they met the Broncos, and then something happened to that team where it just clicked, and the defense started turning around, and the offense play. I mean, Bo Nix looked like somebody who's already been in the league for more than that outside of his rookie season, and embarrassed the Buccaneers, and that had to take everybody by storm. So what I'm trying to say here, folks, is that Bo Nix is definitely the one who's going to take the torch away from Patrick Mahomes. Hell, he probably did it already in terms of saying, hey, this is my division now. The Broncos are going to run things. They're going to be the head of the table. Libre knows where I'm going with that one. And if anybody else wants to try to take the torch away from him, whether it's Mendoza, Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's still suiting up as a Chief, or Justin Herbert, hey, they're more than welcome to come and take it. But I will tell you one thing, Libre, this Broncos team is definitely, like you said, they were just one quarterback away from going to a Super Bowl and possibly winning it. That would have been a perfect rematch for Bo Nix. As daunted as that Seattle defense was in that Super Bowl, he would have not had faltered at the chance to try to take another crack at Seattle.
And that's what I'm excited about for this upcoming year as well. I had somebody here on TikTok earlier talking about where over our heads Seattle's going to be taking them out. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not worried about really Seattle. Like, let's see what you can do against our defense. It's going to be the true test that you're going to be able to see what this team is really capable. I think we just overall, like, yes, we lost 2 people that on our defense, but I feel like our defense itself is better than what it was last year. So when do we actually play Seattle?
It's I think it's a Thursday night football game.
Thursday night, week 6. Yep.
Week 6, yeah.
Thursday
and
night
people, you have to remember that Seattle going into the season as defending champions, they are not the same team that we saw in February. They lost a lot of key players on defense, and they lost their main running back. So Sam Darnold is definitely going to have his hands full in trying to stay afloat, especially as Libre mentioned earlier. The Rams were like, we don't give a frick about draft picks, and they went out and got Myles Garrett. Again, the Rams are literally pushing all the chips in the middle of the table and say, hey, we're going to take that gamble. And if they can somehow convince Aaron Donald to come out of retirement, Jesus Christ. But even a 30, I think Aaron Donald's like 35, 36 years old. But
I don't think that it's going to happen. I think he's happy being retired with his family or whatnot. But again, never say never. You never say never.
I mean, to ring chase, I wouldn't blame him one bit. There's a sidebar here, ladies and gentlemen. There's rumors about people trying to start a petition to get the Broncos to bring back Von Miller and have him retire a Bronco. Libre, how do you feel about that?
You know who's starting that petition? I don't know if you've seen any of the reports, but it's Von Miller himself.
It's Von Miller himself, yeah.
He's the one that said, I want to be here in Denver. Look at this. Like, yeah, I don't want to take any starting positions from anybody itself, but I'm also not going to play special teams. I'm not going to do this. But what do I bring to the table? I bring my experience to here. I want to bring that culture, what we had in Super Bowl 50. I want to bring that locker room, that linebacker locker room in there, like having me, Nick Bonito, Cooper, like what this locker room is going to be like. It's like, that's what he wants to bring into it. And I get it. Like currently he's a free agent. So I get that he wants to come out and play. Like he's already come out. He goes, I'm going to be playing in 2026 anyways. He goes, why not just do it now? One thing I did actually see this week or within the last week itself, prior to him making all these videos when he was here in town last week, like Drew Sanders. That's a player that if Drew Sanders is not going to be the player that we thought he was, because he's been the player that since we drafted him, he's a great player. Like they're keeping him here for a reason because yes, he is a great player. We drafted him, but the problem with him, he's been injured. Like, it's way too much. So that's a name that's been out there. Like if you're going to give up a roster spot, Drew Sanders is going to be a casualty because of it. If you do happen to bring in a Von Miller in here, a lot of people are going to like the nostalgia of it. I would like to have it as well because like the way I look at it, just how he said it, bring those vibes of Super Bowl 50 back in because of what was happened during that year. What happened? We had DeMarcus Ware come in from the Cowboys. We got him in here, him being a mentor as well to Von Miller during that time frame. Helped him clean up his act, like the year before that, helping him clean up his act because of all the like little troubles that he had, off the field troubles that he had. So that alone, if you can come in here and bring Von Miller in and be able to have him give that type of leadership, that kind of role model for these young bucks. Nick Bonito came out and said, I would love to have him here. Let's bring him in. Let's do this. So yes, it would be nice. But again, at what cost? Like if we can just give him the league minimum and whatnot, and then the veteran minimum, and then if it is Drew Sanders or because somebody's going to be losing their job for this, and it's going to be somebody that could potentially be a player for us. And I feel like if Drew Sanders, and I bring this up because of what I saw on that video that somebody had put out, and it was like some kind of reels or short that was out there talking about it. I was like, dang, you're right. Because every time the season starts, you never see Drew Sanders. Or if you do, like it's very limited, you see him. I think he does play special teams at this point, and he's not making any flashy moves or big tackles where his name is being screamed at you, all the time. So, and if that's going to be the case, like it might be that type of casualty. But for the nostalgia, like once he's ready to retire, just like Justin Simmons, he'll sign a one-day contract. That's already going to happen no matter what. He'll sign a one-day contract and he will retire as a Denver Bronco.
I'm sorry. I just I'm watching the TikTok chat, and then the AI summary is debating if Bo Nix is now better than Mahomes.
It's no debate. He is.
Well, yeah, but it's like that wasn't even what the freak we were talking about. So I'm sorry. I got a nice chuckle out of that.
I know my AI summary says analyzing the Broncos draft and Von Miller's potential return.
Yours made more sense than mine. Mine is on a bit of a Looney Tune. But the important thing is, folks, is that what really excites me, Libre, is that there's going to be an element of surprise that a lot of people are not going to see coming, that are not Broncos fans. Okay. And it's going to happen to all the people that kind of look their nose down on us about acquiring Jalen Waddle. There are people still to this day, Libre, that say that the Broncos messed up giving up a first-round pick for Waddle. Excuse me, that he wasn't worth it. And that is just so incredibly, like, I'm so tired of debating that point because I feel like I'm just repeating myself like a broken record. Davis Webb, our new offensive coordinator, if Sean Payton does exactly how he said he was and lets Davis Webb run the offense, it's going to be an offense that nobody in this league has seen yet because everybody has seen Sean Payton's offense and those terrible tight end screens he loves to run. But just being able, or just the thought of, I can't wait to hear Bo Nix launching a bomb to wide open Jalen Waddle for like a 60, 70-yard touchdown. Oh
67 yards? Ooh.
Shut up.
You're the one that said it, bro.
I totally forgot about that freaking 6-7 thing.
But talking about that real quick, like when you look at this year's draft, and I know you don't know particularly well about the draft and what's coming up. Mm-hmm. This year's draft was actually a low year for drafts. If you didn't have one of the top 5 picks in this year's draft, you're not getting a good a really true good starter to start off unless you get one of the top 5s. So when you look at it, and the way I look at it as well, is you gave up the number 30th pick in this year's draft for Jalen Waddle. You think of Jalen Waddle as being pick number 30 in the first round of this draft because we gave up that, and then we gave up a later pick in the draft itself this upcoming year, which it was later in the 4th round, and we moved up in the 4th round itself. So in a way, when I look at that part, we didn't give up much equity. We gave away just our first round pick for this year for him. We were already trying to get him last year prior to the trade deadline, and that they were just asking way too much for it. And then once they fired Mike McDaniels and so forth, and then they're just like, all right, we're just going to be a whole rebuild mode at this point. So that being said, giving up the first pick in this year's draft, the number 130, the 30th overall, that was our pick, was Jalen Waddle at that spot. What other player in the draft itself you're getting an elite receiver at the 30th spot? None at all. So that's why, when those people look at it that way, it's what really are you just really looking at the first round pick, and that's really that's all you're seeing? Is that what you gave up? But look what we got in return. We got a player that we wanted since last year, and we got it at a better deal than what it was that they were asking for last year. So the patience that the Broncos have put out there, especially in that part, bar none, one of the best moves out there. And that's why I feel with us having this addition, and now that the true number 1 corner is not going to be on Sutton all the time, and now they have to just say, are we on Waddle or are we on Sutton? So that dynamic right there has already improved this offensive passing game for the Broncos. And like how you said, Davis Webb, he's going to be making the play calling right now for this upcoming year. He is ready to step up to that role. And you're going to see that it could be potentially almost like the 2013 season that the Broncos had when Peyton Manning was here, when he was throwing records. So it could be potentially that way as well. And don't be surprised if it happens. And I'm calling it right now. It's a hot take that could be something that this offense can match, is our 2013 offense that we had.
Mud Toy jumping in saying new offensive scheme will be an advantage for the first few games until the defensive coordinators start figuring it out. Might just get us past the gauntlet. After that, let the skill players eat. And that's really what we need, Mud Toy. We just need to get past the gauntlet, because if you look at the teams after the gauntlet, you don't really need you don't need it. The schedule for the Broncos is not as tough. Okay. And just like the D coordinators have to figure out offensively, the offensive coordinators have to continue to being making it more difficult for them to figure out. So if the Broncos were going in with the exact same team and I'm talking about without the acquisition of Waddle and without any draft picks, then yeah, the Broncos would definitely be going into huge disadvantage because the teams, all they have to do is just look at the tape from last year and they can put two and two together and figure out how to get the better of Bo Nix. So with bringing in a new offensive coordinator, letting him run the plays, bringing in Jalen Waddle, and we still have yet to see what we have in this rookie class in terms of like, hey, it's going to be their first year. They're going to get their first taste of the NFL. We're getting J.K. Dobbins back, which is a really key piece that we didn't have last year in the second half of the season. Shout out to R.J. Harvey, because R.J. Harvey killed it, Libre, and he did exactly what we thought he could do, and in some cases he did it even better. So I'm very optimistic. I'm very, very, without a shadow of a doubt, sure that the Broncos will definitely win the AFC West next year. And again, the only team that I see that can definitely be a thorn in our side is those freaking Chargers. What say you, Libre?
No, you're right. That's going to be our true test. I feel like this upcoming year is the Chargers themselves. Again, they play well early in the season, but then they falter there at the end when it really matters. But I do feel that this upcoming year, I think we're going to be more prepared. We're going to be ready for it. Again, last year was, even the last 2 years, like you talk about it, just going back, we split the series between them. We happened to have them early in the season last year. So with that being said, it's going to be tough. But I feel that this team this year is going to be more prepared and more ready for that game itself. They're going to, like I said earlier, it's that chip right there on the shoulder because of what happened last year during the playoffs itself. Because trust us, we weren't at our best at that time. We're going to be at our best right now, and we're going to be there. Just like ChatGPT did say here, it says, I put the Broncos in the group of legitimate AFC West contenders, but repeating will likely require 11 to 12 wins and at least split against the Chiefs and the Chargers. I say that we're going to win both games against against the Chiefs. The Chargers, I can see us splitting that game right there. But again, it's going to be what at the end of the year, what's going to be able to be done there. And that's really the true deciding factor at that point is like, are they ready for us? Because look, we have the Chargers week 5 in LA, and then we don't play them until the end of the year. Are they already happy with the wild card spot? And then they're quote unquote, oh, you happen to beat the Chargers again with nobody there. Again, we play who we play, and it's not our fault that the schedule got set up that way.
Agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of regulation, which means it is now time for Libre and I to go into overtime. Let's go. And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. This is Broncos Talk Overtime. If this is your first time here, this is the part of the show where Libre and I let down our hair figuratively and talk about anything going on in our lives that is not football related. But if there's a way that we can bring you back around to Broncos football, we definitely will. Libre, we have to talk about, and I'm not making fun, so don't even start.
Well, before we start that, because I already know where you're going to go. Before we start it, I just want to give out a huge, huge congratulations to my son for graduating high school. Wait until the very last day to do it. But guess what? You did it, son. Proud of you. Can't wait for what you do for the future. You have a bright future ahead of you. So continue to do what you're doing. And please don't hesitate to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, I've been in my profession for the last, it's going on 13 years in the company that I am. I've been in the same department for the last 10 years. Let me tell you, I still ask questions because you never want to settle or feel comfortable in the position that you are. always strive to learn more and more and more. And you are a bright kid, and I know that you're going to do it. So again, huge congratulations to him. Xavier, we'll have a party for you here in about a month. Can't wait for it.
Congratulations to Libre Jr. And wishing you the best on your success, future success.
They call him Hijo de Libre.
But for the record, Libre, that's not what I was going to talk about.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the Vegas and Colorado.
No.
Okay.
But that was a very touching moment, though. And I'm sure your son is going to grow up to be a very wonderful person. But what I was going to address or talk about is your Avalanche. And I know you guys.
You were going to talk about. That's exactly what I thought you were going to talk about. That's why I stopped you.
Shut up. But I mean, Libre, I just want to get because I saw a meme and I didn't even realize it. Like from the Nuggets to the Avalanche, like how are you guys dealing with just that heartbreak? I mean, I know here in Chicago we have our Bulls and then the Blackhawks, but we're used to that. The Blackhawks it's been a while since they've been champions of the Stanley Cup, and the Bulls are just they're in a whole rebuild. But like for you guys, like how are people in Denver dealing with that heartbreak, especially losing to the freaking Knights?
Let me tell you, being we're huge here with the Avalanche. Them being the President's Cup trophy winners, meaning they had the best record in the league, and then coming into the West Finals and losing the way that they did. Let me tell you, they like Vegas, and they played yesterday. I don't know if you saw the game or not.
No,
but
I didn't.
They are relentless. They keep on going forward and forward and forward and hitting. They're just pressuring the teams right now. And that's what they did in yesterday's game, because Carolina was up. They're winning 3-1 at one point, I think. And then they came back, and right before the end of the second period, they tied up the game 3-3. And then in the third period, they just went out there and just overtook them. It's because they're not stopping and they're not afraid. Part of it is like I was talking to my one of my coworkers today about it, and I go, because we were talking about the game, and I go, do you happen to watch the game? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah. And I go, the thing is, what they are doing is that they are just moving forward and keep on just putting that pressure on these teams. And I feel like even prior to the game happening, before the series happened, I was telling people, I was like, I'd rather play the Ducks than Vegas, because I feel like Vegas just for some reason has the Avalanche's number. For some reason, they just match up well against them, and which is weird. Vic Lombardi just tweeted this out, or he retweeted it from somebody saying how crazy it's only hockey could do this. Avalanche had a total of 55 wins on the season. The Vegas Knights had 39 wins for the season. They barely made it into the playoffs. They're playing Carolina, who's the number 2 overall team in the league, with 53 wins. And they come in and win that. And what's even crazier about this, about 8 games, there's about 8 to 7 games left in the season, something like that. And they ended up firing the coach because of how bad they were doing. But then they go on this run. It's because of what they're doing is that they're going and being just pushing it and just shooting the goal on the net. Because once you shoot the goal on net, you never know what's going to happen. It's going to go in. And they've been doing that, and that's what's been happening. So with the Avalanche here, us being very sad, like the show that I was on with Tim last week, we had the title of the show was 3 Up, 3 Down. Started with the Broncos, started with then with the Nuggets, and then ended with the Avs. We had all 3 of our teams that were top tier this year, that were going to be that contention for that championship, and all 3 faltered. The Nuggets did it in the first round. The Broncos again, AFC West, and then with the Avs in the West Finals as well. So, but what this team is going to be doing is what they need to do is change some things up. I thought they were going to fire Bednar just because of certain things. It looks like he's going to be coming back. It looks like the GM is actually going to somewhere else. I can't remember what team right now off the top of my head, but he's going to be he's actually going to be a higher position for himself. And then now they said Joe Sakic is going to now be like the president and the GM of the team itself. So going back to it, Joe Sakic was the GM in the 22 season when we won the Stanley Cup. So hopefully this little change that they're doing right now can be the change that this team needs for us to push forward and actually get into the finals again.
I just want to give a shout out to my Chicago White Sox. I was expecting them to have another crappy season like the last, how long was 2005? 20? 21 years. Well, the last time they won a World Series. And they have just surprised the entire MLB. I believe we're second or third in our division, not that far off from first. And our star player, unfortunately, is hurt. He'll be hurt for about a month, I think. He pulled a hamstring from hitting so many homers. So, meanwhile, across the city on the north side, the Cubs are having one of their worst losing streaks that they've had in, I don't know if they're franchise, but I'm not going to lie to you, Libre. When I see that the Cubs lose on my social media page, it brings a smile to my face, especially because we beat them in the Crosstown Cup.
There you
round
go.
1. We still have to go play them in their home for the second round. I think.
Do you ever go to those games?
I really want to, but it's like it's harder to go on the north side because there's so many Cubs fans. And a lot of them are mostly bandwagon. They're just Cubs fans because their friends are Cubs fans. It's easier to go to the south side games because the south side games, it's hardly ever sold out unless the White Sox explode in terms of fandom.
It's because the south side of Chicago is the worst side. That's what I've always heard. They said never go to the south side of Chicago because it's so bad.
You're not wrong. If you have no business on the south side, don't go. I always tell that to my passengers. Unless you're going to the Museum of Science and Industry, which is on the south side, that's about the only thing you need to go and make sure your Uber drops you at the front door.
Those Dodgers. He goes, Los Dodgers.
Los Dodgers de California.
Thank you so much, D-Rock.
I think the Dodgers have more bandwagon fans than the Cubs, to be honest with you.
So when I went to the Broncos game in Green Bay, because all my friends flew into Milwaukee, and I was like, and they flew in on a Saturday, and I was like, you know what? It's cheaper if I actually go the day before, but I fly into Chicago, and I'll just rent a car from Chicago, and then I'll just drive up from Chicago, and I'll meet up with them in Milwaukee, and then we'll drive up to Green Bay. And that Friday when I was in Chicago, I actually went to a Cubs game because I was like, well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go down and see White Sox. I don't care for White Sox. I'd rather more see Wrigley Field because it's a historic stadium and all that, the Ivy wall. And so I ended up going to the game and not knowing at the time, I actually got a ticket that day, that afternoon when I got there, and they were playing the Cardinals. So the St. Louis Cardinals. So it's like, that's a divisional rival. Like, it was actually pretty cool. And I was sitting like 8 rows behind the Cubs bench. At the time, that's when Rizzo was there and all that. So I was like, dang, this is actually pretty cool. And the Cubs actually came out and won that game too. So I was like, dang, this is pretty cool watching that. And then them playing the take me out to the ball game and all that, the 7th inning stretch when Harry Carey used to do it and all that, like that. Like, I was like, dang, this is kind of cool being here. them just tossing out bags of Cracker Jacks and all that. So it was actually pretty cool. Will I go again? Depends on who they're playing. But yeah, it was pretty interesting to go out there to see that.
You know what, Libre, and I'm glad you mentioned that because what brought I don't know if you guys have heard in my relentless rants of when I tell my Uber stories. The one thing that I usually have in common with that is every time I drive down Michigan Avenue and we get right next to Millennium Plaza, there's the freaking bean. The giant metal bean that everybody raves and everybody wants to come visit and touch and take pictures with. And I was telling my passengers, I'm like, I've never been to the bean. And they're like, what? You've never been to the bean? Why not? Why don't you go? Do you hate it? I'm like, no, I don't hate it. I can see it from here. So technically I can say I've been there. Like, no, you got to go and stand next to it and take a picture and touch it and interact with. I'm like, nah, not really. So last month, I was taking public transportation. I was changing trains. And as I was about to walk up the platform, I realized that I was literally a block away from Millennium Plaza, and I could see the bean damn near from where I was standing. So I'm like, you know what? I got time before I got to go home. So I just walked my happy self down the block, across the street, and it was a beautiful sunny day. And I never realized how many people go to that thing and not only take pictures with it. There's like, you hear a camera go off about every 5 seconds, damn near. But the amount of people who touch that thing, and it's just like, wow. Like, you don't see it from afar until you get really close and you see all the fingerprints and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? Fine. So I took a picture with it. I know when I uploaded on my social media, I look grumpy, but that's just because the sun was in my eyes. And I'm not really a camera type of person. I always come out looking horrible in pictures. You know, think of Shrek, but without the green skin. But in I guess what I'm trying to say is the bean looked just like a bean. So I don't really understand the appeal of it. Maybe it's because I live here in Chicago and I see it all the time, Libre. But have you ever had any experience like that with something in Denver that people say you have to go see, but you never saw?
Well, I think the true comparison to that is going to the mountains, going and do that. So I think that's really what it is, like, because I'm always here and like I rarely go out to the mountains and do anything like that. You can have a lot of Denver natives that are the same way, because they're like, oh, let's go up to Lookout Mountain, let's go do all this other stuff. You know, it's like you've been there once or twice, but that's about it. But then, like, you know, you're not always there. But it seems like I feel like that's one thing that you could say, like, about me as well. It's like I don't go to the mountains enough as much as I want to. But yeah, I would say that would probably be most really the comparison. Not really anything within town where you have to go and actually see something within the town itself and then people taking pictures, because I don't think there's really, to me, again, this is where I'm from, but there's not that much how you say with the bean. Like, it's just right there, whatever. But I think it's really more the mountains, more than anything, that people want to come over and want to go and do, like go out there and do hikes and do all that there in the mountains. But yeah, it's really not anything I can say like an actual like structure or statue or whatever.
You know, I will say the one thing that I regret doing the last time I was in Denver, and it's like, I'm in Denver, it's my last day. We were waiting for our flight. I'm like, I want to try something in Denver I never had before. You know, there's got to be something in Denver that's like only exclusive that you can only eat there. And then my fat behind goes and sits at a Giordano.
You know what's funny? I had that for lunch today.
And it's the Giordano's right around the corner from or down the street from your work office, because I remember you
2 blocks down. Yeah.
But in my defense, the only reason I ate there was because they let me use their bathroom. I was trying to use the bathroom, that the Target there. This was around the time when they had security at all those places, and they did not. If you weren't shopping there, like they didn't want to hear it. It's either you buy something or you get the hell out. Those security guards were not playing. Um, and we went to a Chipotle, which is I think nearby. And
Yeah,
but the guy that
right around the corner.
yeah, and normally I hate Chipotle. You guys know my stance on it. I think they're terrible for overcharging, not only overcharging people, but selling like fake Mexican food. It's an insult to Mexican cuisine, just like Taco Bell. But I really needed to use their bathroom. But the guy was so busy dealing with guests or customers that he really couldn't tell me exactly where the bathroom was. He tried, he just kept going like this, he just kept pointing, but I don't know where the frick he was pointing to. So
Well, if you're in the Chipotle, he was just telling you to go down the hall because there's a hallway where you do the pickup online orders, and it's down that hallway.
I don't know. I was just like, I told my nephew because he was with me. I'm like, you know what? There's a Giordano's. Like that. If they don't have one, then we're just gonna have to drive somewhere because I can't hold it very much longer. But thankfully, the lady was like, yeah, it's right there. And sure enough, I ran in there and I'm like, you know what? We're already here. Let's just get some pizza. And when I'm sitting there, my nephew was like, he's like, you know, we have these Giordano's in Chicago, right? I'm like, yeah, don't remind me. I know. But I love Giordano's. I think their pizza is really, really good. So
It's just I
yeah,
I had the instead of having the pizza, I had the Italian sub.
and look at this, D-Rock. Being from LA, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, never been.
Ooh.
Wow, you've never been to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Well, from what a lot of people tell me, and a lot of people being my Uber passengers, that and going to Vegas is what they said is overrated. You know, so if you ever meet, and it kind of it kind of takes the air out of you when somebody tells you something like that. You know, like you're excited, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna. When I remember when I was going to Vegas, I was so excited, like, oh, I'm gonna get to see this and I'm gonna get to do that, and then they were like, I go to Vegas like every other time. Like Vegas, it sucks or it's not good, and it's just like, yeah, it just takes the air out of you, Libre, and it's so not freaking cool. But hey, when you ask somebody for their honest opinion, that's what they're going to give you. They're going to give you their honest opinion. And I don't know if I talked about it on this channel about my trip. I'll be quick, but I had fun. I really did. I got to walk the casinos where my favorite trilogy was filmed, the Ocean's 11 trilogy. I got to gamble, and I thought I could beat the house, and I was wrong. You know, and I got to see the shoot. I was trying to win tickets to go see Adele, but unfortunately that didn't happen. The only thing I didn't see, Libre, was the Sphere. I saw it from afar because my Uber driver pointed it out to me. And he basically said, look, if you don't have tickets to go to that thing because the tickets are expensive, then I wouldn't even recommend going to see it. He's like, you can more than likely see it from your room. And he's like, hell, you can see it right now. But we were crossing so many buildings that you can only see chunks of it. You know? So I was like, maybe I'll see it from my plane when I take off, you know, depending on which direction we're going.
So it's crazy. It's like, I was just thinking about the last time I was in Vegas. It's been more than 15 years ago. It's going to be like 15, 16 years ago from the last time I was actually there. Maybe even longer, almost like 18. I know it's changed so much from the time that I was there and whatnot, but we're trying to maybe do like a road trip this year, where we're going to stay in Vegas for a couple nights and then drive down to Arizona for the Bronco Arizona game week 7.
Oh, I don't even know if Libre, did I tell you when I'm going to Denver this year? Did I mention that 2 weeks ago?
No.
Me and my nephew are coming out for the Broncos versus Chiefs game in November.
Okay. November 1st game.
1st.
Okay.
We will be at Empower Field.
Yes, sir. And then I finally get to collect all the tacos.
Nah, I'm taking you trick-or-treating because it's Halloween the day before. So I told my nephew, I'm like, hey, you're not gonna miss Halloween because I'll just tell Bronco Libre to show us where they give out the good candy. And my nephew was like, he's like, I don't want to go trick or treating. He's like, I want to go see my Chiefs. And I'm like, ugh.
See how
Let's
he
pick a
is.
different date.
That's funny.
Oh, but bro, if you could see like the light in his eyes, like it is crazy. Get in
That's
here.
awesome.
Like, I'm like, just don't be disappointed because not only are we going to put a whooping on you, but you might not see Patrick Mahomes behind center.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's still possible that you may not see him by then or whatnot. But again, I do feel like if he's going to be ready at some point, they're gonna probably put him in a lot quicker if they're going to try to save the season at all for themselves. But it's gonna be a rough season for them to even start it off because again, you're starting off with a strong opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just because it's the Broncos, they're a tough team.
Agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of Broncos Overtime. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Guys, thank you guys so much for being here with Libre and I tonight. Shout out to everybody in our TikTok audience, especially on my end. I don't think anybody's still in here, but if you are, please say you enjoyed the show if you did. Shout out to D-Rock, Tim Dog, Mud Toy. Who else do we have in here, Libre? Oh, no, that's it. Gabriel Tamayo.
George.
And George was in here. And I know Jay and our boss, the Baki, are here with us in spirit. So, with that being said,
with that being said, like I want to say, like prayers up to Johnny's son, broken collarbone. You know, sucks.
Yeah, hopefully he's all right.
Hopefully he's all right. So prayers out to him. Speedy recovery. Going to be painful for the next several weeks for him.
Yeah, and just so you guys know also as well, like the reason Johnny's just been so busy doing stuff. So the reason you don't see our show with the really cool thumbnails like you see the other shows is because the other guys, I think, do their own thumbnails. I don't know how to do it. I'm not that computer savvy. And Johnny was going to do it for us like he always does today, but unfortunately he had a family emergency, so he wasn't able to do it. But hopefully everything will go back to the way it is next week. But we're going to head on out of here. And before we do, want to remind you guys, if you could please show your support for us here by subscribing, sharing, commenting, leaving a like here on the show. Again, if there's something you heard Libre and I talk about that you agree or don't agree with, please let us know in the comment section and we will respond to you ASAP. For business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Audio listeners, regardless of what platform you're listening us to, please, 5-star reviews are much appreciated. If you like, you can screenshot that review, send it to our Twitter handle at the bottom, and we will be more than happy to read it and thank you live here on the air. My Twitter handle is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. Shout out to everybody in our TikTok chats. Thank you guys so much for being here and watching us. Even if you clicked accidentally, we still appreciate it. Sponsor for today's show was Dubby. If you use the code OBN10, which is OBONIX10, you get 10% off your order at checkout. Shout out to Dubby for being continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Broncos Talk will be back next week at his regular Broncos time and on the regular Broncos channel. And Viva Los Broncos will be back on the air next Friday. So please make sure to catch us and watch out for that. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure and Libre's as well entertaining you on this fine evening. Please enjoy yourselves. And we will definitely see you next week. So with that being said, he's Bronco Libre. I'm Alan Diaz. This has been Broncos Talk here on the Orange and Blue Network. And with that, we say so long. And as always, go Broncos!
Let's go.
Let's go. Libre, you're supposed to hit the button.
What button?